there's 4 different types of engineering leadership. There's strategic, operational, technical, and product. It's about the self-awareness. It's about you have to identify of these 4 things, like what you're good at and what you're not good at, and stop beating yourself up because you're not good at these things.
Okay, everyone, we are back. So I have a question for you. Have you ever met someone who builds companies the way that other people build playlists? Have you ever met someone who turns ideas into action, tech into teams, and setbacks into billion-dollar exits? So Matt Watson is here to show us what that kind of leadership looks like. He's a Kansas City-based serial founder who's helped scale multiple companies, including Stackify, Vin Solutions, and Fullscale. He's not just building businesses, he's building ecosystems. So Matt, I am so excited to have you here. Welcome to Wired to Lead.
I don't know if I can meet these expectations. Like, I don't know about this.
Well,
I'll try.
We build you up. Honestly, I mean, that's just kind of from your resume. And so tell us a little bit about Matt Watson. How did you turn into the Matt Watson of today?
I'm just a guy looking for something to do. That's really it. And I don't know how to say no. I say yes. People come to me with an opportunity and I say yes.
Interesting.
Sometimes it's that simple, right?
Tell us more about that. When's the first time you took a chance and just said, sure, why not?
So probably the very first time is when I was in college. I was working at Sears, if anybody remembers what Sears is.
The catalog.
I was selling computers at Sears in college. And a gentleman comes in and wants to buy a computer. And I ask all of them, like, why? Like, what kind of computer do you need? What are you going to use it for? Right? So I can figure out what to sell this person. And it was a car dealer. And he started telling me about, I needed to run this little software that helps me keep track of my customers and what cars I have for sale. And it tracks all of our stuff. And it's like, that's great. Well, I can help you, buy this computer, whatever. And he's like, but the problem is the guy that built the software, fled the country to the Bahamas. I can't get a hold of him. And I'm really scared because all my information is in the software and my business can't run without the software. And I'm like, well, maybe I can help you with that. No idea what I'm doing, but I can help you. Let's go. And I did. I helped that guy. I rebuilt that software. It was like a Visual Basic 6 Microsoft Access thing from 25 years ago. And I helped him rebuild that software. And I just said yes. It was like somebody needed help, and I said yes. That's where it started.
So when I hear you tell that story, one thing that stands out to me is that you didn't focus on the problem too much. Your brain automatically went to, I bet there's a solution.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, how did you already have wired into you kind of this assumption that I can figure this out, kind of a sense of confidence?
I don't know. I guess, at a younger age, I've always had a really, really strong work ethic. I grew up with my dad working at flea markets. Every single weekend went to flea markets and helped him, even traveled around the country selling stuff at fairs and city fairs and all these kinds of things, selling stuff. And I had a very strong work ethic, and I'm fortunate to be a pretty smart guy and done really well at school. Don't run into many things in life I can't figure out how to do, and very confident in myself and my ability just to do things. But I also really like helping other people. I like solving problems. I like technology, and so I've always said yes. People come to me and they need help with things, or they want my advice or whatever. I usually just say yes.
You're like, sure, let's give it a go.
Let's try.
Yeah. So what's the craziest thing anyone has come and asked you for?
Well, do you want to hear the craziest business idea I've ever heard?
Sure.
Okay, so this was a crazy one. I had this guy once that was trying to figure out how to build a manufacturing plant on a ship. So he didn't want to manufacture stuff in China. He wanted the boat to leave China with the raw goods and build whatever the product was on the way to China or on the way to the US. So the product would be manufactured when it arrived. And I'm like, what in the world are you talking about? This is like the craziest thing I'd ever heard. I was like, okay, no idea how to help you with that one.
Okay, that's really interesting.
Yeah,
It
I was
makes
like,
me
okay,
wonder, well, you're saving time, right? You're manufacturing while you're
on the
shipping.
way.
So you're saving all shipping costs.
I don't, yeah, I was like, okay, this is wild.
Uh, that's awesome. I imagine that you uh, have an appreciation, if nothing else, for people who are out of the box thinkers.
Yeah, I love talking to other entrepreneurs. I've met with 3 or 4 of them over the last week, and I have a venture studio, and we're trying to figure out with our venture studio how to partner with other entrepreneurs to help them create tech companies. But I mentioned the story earlier about that car dealer I did the work for. And so the
Mhm.
rest of the story goes like 2 or 3 years later, I became friends with that car dealer, hardly ever charged him any money. Like I was 19 when I first started helping him, and he'd give me like $20 or something. I'd go help him do something and it was like, a few bucks to take my wife out to dinner or something. It was like no big deal, whatever. I didn't care. I enjoyed working with the guy. I never really made a lot of money doing it. But what happened was in 2003, somebody else, ironically working for Auto Trader, remember Auto Trader, the
Yeah.
magazine, which became autotrader.com, but back then it was still mostly Auto Trader magazine, was looking for somebody to help build some software and went to the same car dealer because he was working for the magazine. And that car dealer connected the two of us. And that is, again, I said yes. The guy's like, I'm taking pictures of cars. I need some help figuring out how to organize the inventory and all the photos that I take to upload them to the internet because I need to upload them to autotrader.com and cars.com and all these things. And back then, by the way, like iPhones didn't exist, like
Yeah.
smartphones didn't exist. Like most people didn't have digital cameras. This was 2003. I know that seems like forever ago. And I just said yes. I literally sat down with a guy at Applebee's and said, okay, sure, I can help build this software. And it was that original car dealer is the only reason I ever would have met this person. And we started what, ultimately turned into Vin Solutions in 2003.
Wow. Again, just hearing that story kind of underlines the value of not just saying yes, but of building and maintaining relationships with
Yeah,
people beyond once they give you a paycheck for something.
100%. Yep.
Yeah. So what is what is a lesson that you have had to learn when you're saying yes, or maybe I should say it this way. Have you ever said yes and regretted it?
Well, I think that gets to another topic that's probably really important to our show today, which is figuring out what kind of leader you are, like what
Yeah.
you're good at leading. And
Mhm.
I think that's the thing in my career that I always struggled with is I would say yes, that I will do this, I can do that thing, trying to figure out how to do things and figuring out there's things I'm not good at, but
Mhm.
trying to do them. It's no different than my wife asked me not too long ago. She's like, hey, when the kids bring their backpacks home, will you go through their backpacks and look at their folders and their homework? And I'm like, do you want me to lie to you or do you want me to tell you the truth? Like, because the answer is no, I'm not going to do it. Like I have ADHD and my ADHD does not care about that thing. I am not going to do it. But when I was a lot younger, I would have said yes.
Mm. And what would have been the reason you said yes?
Because it's like I'm supposed to do this thing.
Yeah.
Like I'm supposed to do this, so I should say yes. But it didn't take me till I was about 40 to figure out like I'm gonna stop lying to myself. I'm not gonna do this.
And sometimes it's doing people a favor to say, no, I'm not good at that.
Yeah.
And so even some of us people pleasers, we think we're helping by doing it anyway, and we're really not. It's better if they find someone else who does a better job, or give me another job so that you have the time and space to do what you're good at.
Yeah, I think for me, so like I started Vin Solutions in 2003. I was 22 years old. I was the chief technology officer. Basically, I was in charge of building the product, all the technology, writing all the code, doing all this stuff. My business partner was in charge of business development, finding
Mhm.
customers. I had no idea how to manage people, lead people, do any of that kind of stuff. Over time, the company slowly grew, and when we exited the company, I was 29, and I had like 40 or 50 people or something, like basically that reported to me. I still had no idea how to lead people. I still had no idea how to manage, but I was doing it, right?
Mhm.
And I think one of the hardest things for me that I didn't figure out until even way later was, I was really good at certain things. Like I was really good at like product and big picture and strategy. I was terrible at operations. I hated
Mhm.
managing people, hated process. Like I still to this day, I hate all of it. But back then, I might have felt like a failure because I wasn't good at those things or I didn't like to do those things. But now I look back and I realize like I was never going to be good at those things. And the
Mhm.
hard thing as a leader is realizing like what you're good at and what you're not good at. It's like what I need to do is double down on what I'm good at and then
Mhm.
stop pretending I was going to do those things and hire somebody else to do those things that I can trust.
Yeah. So that's what I was wondering is what your solution to that is. I was just thinking if you were talking to Matt Watson, who was 28 years old and who was trying to do it all, what would you tell him?
I
And
would I would tell them to read my book.
yes, so tell us, for those of us who have not read it yet, tell us about the wisdom that you have compiled in that book.
Yeah, so I wrote a book. I just published it in July of this year called Product Driven. And it's about software engineering and leadership. It's not really a technical book. And it's really almost more of a generic leadership book, but it is,
Yeah.
the point of view is related to software engineering. But for example, with this, one of the chapters is about there's 4 different types of engineering leadership. There's
Mm.
strategic, operational, technical, and product. And again, this is slanted to the engineering side of things, but it highlights that like strategic and product are very different than like operations and even very different than technical. Like people that are brilliant at the technical side of it may be terrible at the rest of it, right? And
Mhm.
the reason that chapter I think is really important in the book, it's like it's about the self-awareness. It's about you have to identify of these 4 things like what you're good at and what you're not good at, and stop beating yourself up because you're not good at these things. Or like, you may be holding your entire company back because you think you need to do these things that you're just terrible at.
Yeah. And you alluded to this earlier that there's almost a sense of shame that's attached
Yeah.
if you're not. And especially for a young leader who's growing, we've so many of us learned, well, I just need to get better. I need to be teachable and I need to learn it. And we get this idea that we're supposed to be great at everything.
Yeah. And we're not going to be.
And we're just not. And so what in your life helped you to kind of let go of that? What helped kind of um yeah, help you to be okay with being a terrible operations guy?
Yeah, and so in my book I talk about this story of identifying sort of the resistance. It's like where is the problem, and like you could be the problem, right? And so the way that I found this out was from Craig, who worked for me, who was my chief operating officer.
Hmm.
He gave me a book called Rocket Fuel, and
Hmm.
I highly recommend the book. I don't read books. I can't read books. I have ADHD.
Hmm.
I don't have the attention span. He gave me the book and he's like, Matt, you have to read this book. And I'm like, oh crap. Like Craig knows I don't read books, but if I have to read this book, like I feel like I'm in trouble. So I read the book, and Rocket Fuel is about how you have in most companies, you have kind of the big picture visionary person, and then you have the pairing, which is usually like a chief operating officer, somebody that's much more people and process oriented, right? And that most successful companies have both. They have like really strong pairings of those two.
Hmm.
Something like Apple, you had Jobs and you've got Tim Cook. Like Tim Cook was more of this operational person, and Steve Jobs was like the big picture,
Hmm.
crazy, future building person. Most companies have these combinations, and what the book talked about is like understanding your role and how to work with the other person, like how I work with Craig. And my problem that the reason Craig, gave me this, he's like, Matt, you have a million ideas. You run around the office every day. You talk to everybody about all these ideas. Nobody knows knows what to do with your ideas. Like, you had a different idea yesterday and you got a new idea today. Do they drop everything they're doing to go work on this new thing? Like, they don't know how to deal with this. Like, you cannot give them these ideas every day. Like, you can give them to me. I'll help you brainstorm. I'll help you filter them. We'll figure out a plan, but you can't change direction every day. And you can't, tell this to everybody, because they think whatever you say is like way more important than you think. You're just brainstorming. They think you're telling them what to do. And so that's where I ran into that. And by the way, I didn't figure that out till I was like 35 years old and had already been managing people for over 10 years. There's so many things in life we just don't learn and for a long period of time until we run into these life lessons. But
yeah, and kudos to Craig for having the strength to come and just put it in front of you.
Yeah.
Because that's what I find in so many of my clients, is that they don't have someone to kind of hold up that mirror so that they can see. And so they keep running around in circles, overwhelming their teams. And it's tragic because it burns people out, because they can't figure out which way is up.
Yeah. And I know other people that have built great businesses, and I'm thinking of somebody right now for this analogy that has like 75 employees, and she's an amazing CEO. She could sell anything to anybody. She trusts none of her employees. She will not hire. She will not delegate. Like, this business will never grow. Yeah. Because she will not hire like a chief operating officer and trust them unequivocally to go run other parts of the business. She has to micromanage everything.
Yeah.
And so, but she's not self-aware of it, or she won't like get out of the way of it, right? Like, a lot of us get to a certain place where like we can't get past because of whatever our own weaknesses are, and we're not self-aware, or we don't have a Craig that says, hey, you have this challenge. Let me help you get to that next level. Like, we all usually get to that limit somewhere, right?
Right. Especially if you're a growing company. And I mean, so many entrepreneurs, that's what you want to get to. But then there's so many that hold on too tight that they never break through, like you said. So I know that you have a podcast and for startups, and you have created 3 startups yourself. And so what advice would you give to a founder who is in a place like that, who is like your colleague that you were thinking about, who started this business, it's going great, but they won't let go of control? How do they find the COO that they can trust, and how do they do that? How did you do it?
Well, part of it is, can you even afford them? That's where it starts, right? You're like,
it's tricky.
Hey, I've got a great business. We're doing, $3 million a year in revenue, $5 million a year in revenue. We're trying to figure out how to scale. It's like, okay, I need to go hire a great chief operating officer or VP of operations or whatever to help me. But it's like, can I afford $300,000 a year to go hire this person? Maybe not. But that's the challenge, right? Like, a lot of these problems, or some of these problems, can be hired with money, but you have to be able to afford to hire these people too, right? And if you can't, you're just sort of stuck. You're like, I'm also the VP of operations, but it kills me inside every day to do this work because I'm not good at it. Yeah. But I don't know what else to do because I can't hire somebody, right? Like, that's the struggle.
So how have you been able to scale through those? Has it just been luck that you've happened to have the cash flow to do so, or were there certain strategies? You said you're a strategist. Are there certain best practices that startups can embrace?
Today, I think it's just self-awareness of it, right? It's like, I know I'm not very good at these things, so whatever I do, I need somebody that can help me. And going back to what we just talked about, like, you don't necessarily need to hire a chief operating officer or a VP of operations. It could just be some sort of assistant or whatever their title is, that can help do these things. Just like, at least as much as possible. Maybe they're not going to be like the big strategic person about operations, but they can you can offload as much of it as possible to them, right? And you can still drive the strategy of that kind of stuff, but trying to offload as much as possible. I think the other thing that's important, you talked about, okay, if you're in this situation, what do you do? I think the key is also having mentors and sort of peers and colleagues that are going through the same thing as you. Like there's some great founder groups, like for example, Practical Founders. My friend Greg Head runs that. If you're a SaaS founder that's like bootstrapping a company, I would highly recommend, because it's a whole bunch of other bootstrapping founders. And a lot of them all have the same problems, right? It's like being able to connect to other people that are struggling with the same things that you are helps a lot of identifying what I'm good at, what I'm not good at, what the problems are in my company. How did you solve this? Like hearing it from other people over and over is going to help you become more self-aware and figure out how to solve these problems.
I love so much that you brought that up, because, a lot of the work that I do is understanding how our brains work and leveraging that with how we proceed. And so because we are social creatures, and it feels so simple, but when you are not alone in your struggle, it literally helps your brain to access the smartest part of your brain, right?
Yeah.
So here's my brain model, and here's the smartest part, right? Up here, this is our prefrontal cortex. But the problem is that our brain functions from the bottom up. And once it's convinced that our life is not in danger, then it allows you to access the subconscious part, which is the relational part of your brain. It's subconscious. If you're thinking about it, that's up here. Subconscious is more in here. And if you can connect to like-minded people, it's a safe space for you to be able to share your struggles, then this part of your brain is going to get filled up. I kind of think about it as kind of like the gas tank of your brain to then fuel the rest of your thinking brain. And there's something incredibly powerful about just having a mentor, having a group where you can go. It feels so counter. And I think I've talked to a lot of people who say, I don't have time for that. And I want to challenge them that actually it will save you time. Your work will become more efficient and creative and innovative the more time you devote to that space.
We all need somebody to talk to, right? We all need
Yeah.
we'll call it a therapist, but it could just be talking to your significant other or a friend or whoever. We
Yeah.
all need somebody to talk to, even if it, personal issues in our life and all these things. But especially even in business, like people need a mentor, a coach, or just other peers that they can talk to about their problems. And we all need a therapist of some form, basically, right?
I agree.
And that maybe sound weird when, people use the word therapist. But it's like we need somebody to talk to. And like for thousands of years, humans talk to other people. Like we talk to each other about our problems, and that makes us feel better. Like
It just does. It's a scientific fact that your brain gives you happy chemicals when you are able to share with others. The weight of our stresses become less when you simply are in the room with somebody else, or even on Zoom, or online. And so it's something that I'm happy to see. There's a little bit of a shift that even in the workplace, this is becoming more front and center.
Yeah, I have one of my best friends I meet every couple of weeks, and we'll meet at like 7 o'clock in the morning and just go for a walk. And we just talk for, an hour. We like walk like 3 to 5 miles or something like that, and get some exercise and talk, and it's good.
It's the triple threat. It's meeting your brain's need for that in the three best ways: moving, connecting, and outside. Or I'm assuming it's outside. Maybe it's
outside.
around a track in winter, but
it
really is powerful. As you continue to create and scale, and then in the past two businesses, then you exit out. Where are you in that process currently?
One of the struggles I have with full scale is not getting complacent. It's a different kind of business. So this is more of a professional services business. We provide software engineering talent and from the Philippines for over 70 different clients that we work for. And it's not like a SaaS company that's like super high scale growth. It's going to,
Sure.
grow the same way. It's a different kind of business. And we're still growing, and we've had several record months in a row. Like, life
Mm.
is great. Like, we've had the best month we ever had in July. But I'm still pushing for, like, we still need to improve this in our marketing. We still need to improve this in our recruiting. And like, we need to do more training around AI. We need to do all this. And a couple people pushed back on me, like, Matt, we've having the best month we've ever had. Like, maybe you need to chill out. And I'm like, no, we still need to improve these things. Like,
Yeah.
because, one of the dangerous things is getting too complacent. Like, we had this problem 2 years ago. At that time, my other business partner was the CEO,
Mm.
and he got too complacent. Like, we hit record revenue in July, and he kind of took his foot off the accelerator. We weren't doing as much sales and marketing stuff. And then we had some bad customer cancellations for a couple months in a row, and
Mm.
didn't have any sales pipeline to help backfill the business that we lost, and like, sort of got complacent, and we lost like 15% of our revenue. And then
Wow.
it took several months to like climb out of that hole.
Yeah.
And then I bought him out, and he's gone now. But um complacency can really get you in trouble. But that's the hard part about owning a business, is like, is this a lifestyle business? And it's like, business is good and we're just kind of keeping the status quo, versus is
Mhm.
it, high stress, like go, 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 grow mode, like a lot, the early startups can be really a grind. I mean, so it's just hard. And all these kinds of businesses are different. My other three previous companies were all SaaS companies, and
Mm.
Full Scale was started as a byproduct of one of those. I needed to hire software developers, and
Mm.
so it was kind of an accidental business that I started to hire developers. But yeah, it's just different kinds of businesses, different kinds of leadership.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought up the whole pipeline issue, because I mean, it's something that I'm constantly looking at with, I might have a full slate right now, but
Yeah,
yeah, the what if one or two of those clients
yeah.
back out? What if they're unable to, who knows? There's so many what ifs. And so as a
If you're not
leader,
trying to grow at all times, like, you could start declining at any time.
how do you prepare for that? And how do you balance people's need for status quo, for kind of some rest, with the constant need to be innovating, to be looking for improvements, and so on?
I feel like I'm a pretty easy person to work for in general, but I just looking for, like, slow incremental improvement. Like, how do we keep improving things a little by
Mm.
little every month, just getting a little better at what we do. And I don't want to get overly complacent, and understanding the risk and the things we need to do, and firing people that aren't very good at their job. We had to terminate somebody this week that wasn't doing very good. And one of the
Mm.
problems I had with my previous business partner is I felt like he wasn't as quick to fire people that need to be fired. And so, like, we
Mm.
collect a few people along the way. It's like we got a bunch of bad apples working for us, and then eventually wonder why we have problems, right? It's like, because we didn't let go of these people we needed to let go a long time ago.
Yeah.
Um, and it's easy to fall into that, kind of get complacent, right? Do we just keep doing what we're doing? But as a business owner, you got to stay on top of these things. And like, having employees that are below average at what they do is a risk, right? Long term, it's a risk to continue having these people around. So, but it's difficult, because you want the best for people. You want them to be good at their job. Like, you want, but at the end of the day, you're still running a business. So
Right. Right. That's one of the biggest issues that I run into with clients, are leaders who struggle to have those hard conversations,
yeah,
and who avoid it until it's almost too late. And I imagine that if the business is doing fairly well, it's really hard
yeah,
to keep those
yeah.
standards up. It's like, we're okay. We can eat this one. But at the
But
end
you
of the day,
outgrow people too.
absolutely.
I mean, I have that problem today at Full Scale. It's like, we have one or two people that we keep talking about all the time. We're like, we're going to outgrow this person. We know
Yeah.
we've already outgrown them. Like, we're going to have to hire somebody over them, and they aren't going to like it, but it's going to happen.
Yeah.
We know we've got to do it.
Right.
You just outgrow people, because when you're small, I mentioned earlier about, like, you need somebody to help you with operations. You might need somebody that's very much a generalist, like they can help do a lot of different things. And then eventually you're like, well, now I need a specialist. I need somebody who's really, really, really good at this one specific thing, and they're not.
Yeah.
And you just eventually outgrow people, or you promote people to a level that they just can't handle what you need them to do.
Right. And so, don't you think that it's in a leader's best interest to be able to have those conversations along the way instead of just pushing them off and letting people find out kind of the hard way? You can't always be completely transparent about everything, but is there a sense where I'm going to let you know where you are kind of in the big picture?
I
And
think
I'm
it's
not going to
important
let
to.
it be a surprise.
Yeah, I think it's important too. And as you said, those can be hard conversations. A lot of times we avoid those conversations, but I think it's important to. And at least then it's like over a longer period of time, it's not a surprise later. We're like, hey, we tried to do this. We need this. We're not able to do it, whatever. And it's not near as a surprise later either. And, I do always feel like with our employees, I owe, I owe them of like trying to make it work. It's like, I hired you to do this. I'm doing everything I can to try and make it work. And at some point in time, it's like, I've tried everything I can. It's all I can do.
Yeah. Yeah.
At my company today, I have over 300 employees.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's, inevitably there's always a couple people or 5 people or something that keep coming up about we have problems with this, or they're having struggles with this or whatever. Like, it's just a never ending problem that we just have to deal with, and like, but the other 90% of people crush it, do a great job. Right. But it's just part of running a business.
Part of it. So, one of the things that we just talked briefly about is before we started this conversation is the reality that so many times our early success in our career required a certain wiring or a certain gift set. And then we get to a point in our careers where that same gift set almost starts working against us instead of for us. And we just need to be even, you've talked about continuously learning, growing, improving your business. But what about you as a leader? How has that played out in your life?
To some degree, there's some advantage when we're younger because we don't know what we don't know. Right. And I think that's why a lot of tech companies and stuff are really successful with younger people for a couple reasons of like, they don't know that that's a stupid idea. Like, it's like, oh, I'm 50 years old, whatever. Right? Like, oh, I've seen all this stuff as a terrible idea. I know this isn't going to work. And like, they're dumb. They're going to try this thing anyways. But then inevitably some of them succeed. Like, they were dumb enough to try and they figured it out. But, we get older, we get to our 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever. And we're like, no, we're not going to try that. There's too much risk. Like, why wouldn't do that? But the younger people are like, whatever, we'll take all the risk. Let's try.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, it's true.
And we also have, kids and mortgages and spouses and aging parents to take care of, whatever all the problems are that they don't have.
They don't have. There's a little more freedom.
Yeah.
And I know for me, I was a super high achiever. I didn't care if I worked way too many hours.
Yeah.
I was going to do it. And it led to success until about 5-10 years ago, where my body started saying, we're done. We can't handle your anxiety anymore. And my body shut down. And so it was interesting how this internal drive, ultimately driven by a sense of anxiety and needing to prove myself, it did end up in great success in a lot of different areas. And then eventually it became my stopping point, and I had to learn a different way to operate. And the really great thing is that became my greatest gift, because I had to kind of dig down and figure out what is happening and why. And I was able to address it then. And so now I feel so much better, but also experiencing even greater signs of success without killing myself. So
Yeah.
it's an interesting, when you're younger, you're right. There's kind of an abandon and, I'll take this risk because I don't really have as much to lose. And then once you start accumulating relationships and, you as a business owner being somewhat kind of overseeing all of these employees that are working for you, things just feel a little heavier.
Yeah, 100%. And I think as you get older too, you start thinking about like what matters to you in life, and like
Mm,
um maybe have a little, slightly slanted view, but it's like at the end of the day, like all of our lives are meaningless unless we make them meaningful every day.
mm,
But ultimately they are kind
yeah.
of meaningless. But we have to make life meaningful every day. And like, what is the purpose? What do we care about? Like, and focusing on making life matter every day. Like,
Yeah.
we only have one life to live, right? So it's like, what am I putting my time and energy into? Why am I doing this? And, I go to my wife, like, hey, I want to start a new company doing this, that, whatever. And she's like, why? Do we need more money? Like, why are you doing this? Like, do we need
Mm.
more stress? Like, why are you doing this? It's like, okay, you're right, babe. Maybe I shouldn't do that.
Good question.
Why am I doing it?
Yeah. So what brings you meaning today?
I love helping other people. We talked about earlier. Like I love to
Yeah.
say yes. I love to help other people. I like the challenge and problem solving of things. I love not only do I love helping other people, but I love creating jobs for people. I mean, that's one of my favorite
Mm,
things in my current company. I've over 300 employees, and over my career, I think I calculated I've created like 1,000 jobs or something like that. And
mm,
even those 300 employees I have today, those are really, really high paying engineering jobs. And every one of those
mm.
engineering jobs actually creates like 2 or 3 other jobs,
Other jobs.
right? So it's like our 300 employees today probably is actually more like affects like 1,000 people or something,
Right.
all their families, right? So that feels really good to me. Like, so now at my age and my place, in my career, I think even more about the importance this is to our employees and being a good place to work
Mm,
for them, and knowing like I don't have a business without them. They are my business, right? So,
mm,
taking better care of our employees and some of the other things that we do that I would not have done before, like some community service related things and stuff like that.
mm,
That 20 years ago I would not have cared about. Now I
mm.
care more about some of these things.
Yeah. I love there's almost this sense of, you're changing the world in your sphere of the world, both here in Kansas and in the Philippines. The places where you get to touch, it's changing for good, creating
Yeah,
sustainable jobs for people, which is ultimately changing their lives, their families'
it
lives,
feels
and
great.
so on. Being a builder and not yeah, I don't know what the opposite of a builder is. Demolisher. That's not very professional.
It feels
uh,
great.
yeah, I can imagine. Well, Matt, we are about out of time. So just curious as we get ready to shut down our conversation, what is the legacy that you are hoping to leave as a leader or that you're building right now?
Ooh, as a legacy, I don't know. I guess I just one another way that I think people look at that is like, okay, at your funeral, how do you want people to
Mm,
remember you, right? Like, what do they want to talk about? Like what you did in your life and why people remember you. What do people celebrate you for, and or whatever, right? And
yeah.
I guess I love helping other people, and I guess being a good father is an important thing. I have 5 kids, so being a good
Mm,
husband, a good father, all these things, like being good in the community, helping other people, is important to me. I think is the most important thing, and gives me meaning and makes me
mm,
happy. Like I love helping other people. So
yeah. It's almost like you want to leave your spaces better off because of your presence and your
yeah,
leadership. I love that. Well, Matt, thank you for being with us. I've really appreciated, just getting to hear and walk alongside your journey with you. Give us one quick plug for your book and where can our readers find it? Or readers,
yeah,
well, readers and listeners.
Yeah, so I wrote a book called Product Driven. You can go to productdriven.com, and I have a newsletter and podcasts and stuff too. It's all called Product Driven. You can find the book on Amazon.
Okay.
You can also follow me on LinkedIn. I have a huge following on LinkedIn and post every day. Just look for Matt Watson. And my company we mentioned earlier is called Full Scale. You can check us out at fullscale.io.
Okay. We will put all that information in the show notes as well. So thanks, everyone, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to Wired to Lead. If this helped you lead with more clarity today, hit follow in your app so you never miss an episode, and leave a short review in Apple Podcasts. 2 sentences is perfect, and it helps leaders like you to find us. If you're a leader who would like to explore opportunities for workshops or coaching with Brave Restoration, please reach out to our website at www.braverestoration.org. We would love to hear from you. See you next time.